and he's on the play, Todd Anderson is the most recognized player in this top 8, and so picking against him, I think, is just a poor thing to do. So I'm going to go with Todd Anderson to win this match.
He's got the experience. The one thing I noticed, when you fight against planeswalkers, you really want to have flash creatures that you can bring in the end step and then attack those planeswalkers. Todd Anderson only has a single Snapcaster Mage and a single Vendilion Click. I think this is going to be a tough match for him, and I hear I'm rooting for Michael Kletz because he has that Cabal Pit somewhere in his 75 hiding.
And he also has a Cephalid Coliseum, which is his first land, which is a little bit telling to lead out with a land that's actually going to deal you points of damage. Polluted Delta is going to be the second land, and he's going to search out a Bayou, but it's a little bit surprising to see Cephalid Coliseum lead off the show because he had to take one to Spell Pierce that Thoughtseize from Anderson.
Yeah, that is very curious. If he had the Polluted Delta, why not lead with that? But maybe he needs that Bayou for both the black and the green, so he needed to lead with the blue land for Spell Pierce. Countering that Thoughtseize from Todd Anderson, so Mike Kletz keeping his hand a mystery. Todd is going to go fetch a tropical island to go with his scrubland.
And now Abrupt Decay going to take care of the Deathrite Shaman for Anderson and pass the turn back. A new addition to the Esper Deathblade deck. Again, Esper Deathblade, which was designed by Brian Brondewin. The reason that they played this is they basically took Esper Stoneblade and they added in Deathrite Shaman. That was the idea behind the deck. You see an intuition here resolving for Kletz. But now Todd decided to make some room for a couple copies of Abrupt Decay as well, so stretching the mana even more.
What's going to happen here with this intuition? He's going to search for 3 cards, and then Todd is going to choose one of them for Mike to put in his hand. The other two are going to go to the graveyard. So is he going to get some life from the loam? Does he have that in the main deck?
Yeah, he's got 2 life from loams in his main deck, and I feel this is going to be like a life from loam 2 land search, and that's what it is. You see Cabal Pit.
There's the Cabal Pit.
And Mishra's Factory. So he's going to get his drawing engine online and his loam engine online. And you saw him main phase this intuition so that it can't be pegged by a counterspell from Anderson.
So now life from the loam online. And immediately Todd Anderson. I mentioned that it was a singleton in his main deck, and he has it here right on time.
Yep.
To put that life from the loam on the bottom of Mike's library.
And the last 2 cards in Mike's hand are Jace and Spell Snare, and he draws a mystery card from Vendilion Click, draws a card for his turn. So let's see what he ends up finding here. Does he run into the other life from the loam? Can he get his Wasteland engine online against Anderson? Uh-oh, he's Wastelanding this field. Did he draw another life from the loam? Oh my goodness, he did.
There is currently one on the bottom of his library, and he drew one off the top right there. Gets back Wasteland, Cabal Pit, and Polluted Delta, and uses the second Wasteland this turn on the Scrubland. Now Todd Anderson in a hole. He has the only creature on the board in Vendilion Click, but only 1 land to go with it, Tropical Island.
All right, Todd's going to play a Ponder to start. So 1, 2, and 3, a couple swords and an Underground Sea. You see a Jace and a Batterskull to go on the Fluttershy and Anderson's hand. He's far away from casting those. I mean, it's arguable if he's ever going to get to those. So you're going to see him shuffle away with Ponder and find something new that can try to help him here. But you saw Kletz, Riki, search for Cabal Pit, like right away.
Yeah.
And that one was a little bit curious, but it kind of makes sense now because, you know, he understands that it's going to take some time to whittle away all of Anderson's lands, and if there is a threat that does make it through, be it a Vendilion Click, Cabal Pit can kind of take care of that.
Gonna need to get to Threshold first. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and now he's gonna get Threshold off of that dredge.
And he already has the Cabal Pit in hand, so if he wants to take care of Vendilion Click now, he can. As you saw Kletz dredge the life from the loam, he's going to play the Cabal Pit for the turn, and he's going to fire that off.
And there you go. It actually happened. A Cabal Pit activation, -2 to the Vendilion Click. You saw it here probably first and last possible time in Legacy.
So now here's a Deathrite Shaman that's threatening to generate some more mana here for Anderson. So, you know, for Kletz, he just wants to keep Anderson off of his mana. He wants to Wasteland him into Oblivion because Todd has no way to get those lands back. Doesn't have Crucible of Worlds, does not have Life from the Loam in his 75.
But that Cephalid Coliseum, that was Mike Kletz's first land drop, and I think he's taken 4 points of damage off of that. Could be very relevant that that was his blue mana source. So he's going to commit to a polluted delta instead of going with a wasteland. Search up another blue source so he can stop taking pain here.
Alright, so it's going to be Underground Sea. Now I want to see what he wants to do this turn. He's going to play Pernicious Deed, so he wants to get this established. Let this be his way of cleaning up anything that does get through yet again. Cabal Pit was taking care of some of the things, but if he does loan back the Cabal Pit, it takes a little time to establish, so he doesn't want to do that right away. And Todd draws a land very timely there, because now he can play Jace the Mind Sculptor.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of things going on here. Todd cast the Deathrite Shaman last turn, draws a land here. Now he has 4 mana available, can cast Jace the Mind Sculptor, and also, kind of relevant for the long game, Deathrite Shaman can get rid of that Cabal Pit.
You make a very, very good point. I think if Todd's going to activate that Deathrite Shaman, I think Cabal Pit is the one that's got to go. So I don't think we expected to see Cabal Pit get activated here today.
Didn't expect to see that. Didn't expect to see it. Very relevant that Deathrite Shaman is going to exile it. Oh no,
he's going to take Wasteland
first.
Okay. I'm a little bit surprised by that, but Wasteland may be causing a bigger problem here, as Anderson's going to draw 1, 2, and 3. He draws a Flooded Strand, a Wasteland of his own, and a Deathrite Shaman. So, time to put back some cards for this Brainstorm and start to let Jace reign supreme, because we'll bring Pernicious Deed up on the screen for you guys so you can take a look at that. It doesn't kill Planeswalkers, man.
No. Planeswalkers did not exist in 1885 when this card was printed.
I remember back in the day when Pernicious Deed was millions and millions of dollars.
It was, and especially on Magic Online, when Apocalypse was one of the first sets printed on Magic Online, there were not very many packs that opened. It was stuff from the Invasion block was gold.
Yeah. Those were about 85, 90 tickets on Magic Online. I had a couple of them back in the day. Held on to them for a little while.
So Mike Kletz continues to take damage from that Cephalid Coliseum, but now has established his own Planeswalker. He's going to fight with the Deathrite Shaman, flip over to Garruk Veil Cursed with 2 counters currently.
So now this is a Planeswalker battle, and this is a weird one, right? Because Jace is the ultimate Planeswalker. It does everything. You can't stop Jace. Jace is the best Planeswalker of all time. But Garruk Relentless kind of lines up pretty well against it, because Jace doesn't defend itself in a nice manner against opposing Planeswalkers.
Right, especially one that can continuously spit out creature tokens here, as the +1 makes 1/1 Black Wolf creature tokens, and Jace is going to be forced to defend itself possibly with that unsummon or continue to lose loyalty.
So let's see what Todd's going to do, because, you know, he has these options where he can Wasteland, he can, you know, sack a fetch land. I mean, do you really want to Wasteland against a deck that already has Life and Loam in the graveyard? He's got some serious options here available. Jace the Mind Sculptor, the one that's making this all possible. And I'm interested to see how he wants to navigate the next couple of turns here, because now he's got to beat Garruk the Veil Cursed.
Yeah, and I really like that play of Garruk the Veil Cursed fighting the Deathrite Shaman. I thought he might go for the Pernicious Deed to clear out the Deathrite Shaman. He didn't need to, so he still has the Pernicious Deed as backup here. And there you go, Todd Anderson, Snapcaster Mage.
So he's going to
Abrupt Decay, because Garruk Relentless, when he's flipped over, has no mana cost, so converted mana cost is 0 on the backside, Veil Cursed. Abrupt Decay, Flashback takes care of that Planeswalker.
And now a Jace. Gonna Legend Rule Todd Jace, something that would not happen a month from now.
Yeah, and these legacy players are really going to have to learn how to play with that new rule. What do you do when you get an opposing Jace Wars where both of you have one? Do you both Brainstorm? Do you start Fate Sealing? It's going to be a whole new world. It's going to be exciting. It's going to shake up Legacy, something that doesn't happen very often to this degree.
Now remember, about 4 or 5 turns ago, Todd Anderson got Wastelanded twice. Had like no lands in play. Just like 1, maybe 2 lands, and a Deathrite Shaman, and that's pretty much it. And now you see him rebuilding everything here. He's got a Snapcaster Mage, excuse me, took care of that Garrick the Veil Curse. He's got 4 lands in play, a 5th one in his hand. Batterskull and Umezawa's GT in his hand, so he can actually play Magic again, which is good for him and bad for Kletz for what he's trying to accomplish. And now Kletz's job is to try to get him back into that position where he just doesn't have any mana.
Yeah, so Todd Anderson, there was that one turn where he had the Deathrite Shaman activation. Got rid of the Wasteland. I thought he would go for the Cabal Pit, but he went for the Wasteland, and he was possibly anticipating this type of game state in the future where Wasteland is much more relevant than Cabal Pit.
Alright, Mr. Anderson, it is on you to try to defeat the mighty Pernicious Deed. And so what Todd is calculating right now, ideally in his head, he's trying to figure out, okay, so what am I supposed to play, and how am I supposed to sequence my turns that it forces him to use his Pernicious Deed, but his Pernicious Deed doesn't get maximum value. You know, that's the big thing he's trying to figure out.
Well, clearly this is going to force the Pernicious Deed.
Yeah.
And there we go. 2 counters, 2 charge counters on Umezawa's Jite.
So the Jite is threatening lethal right now with Kletz at 6, and +2/+2, +2/+2, and the Snapcaster is 2/1. You see a Wasteland here from Kletz. That's his land drop for the turn. Looks like he's going to cast Life from the Loam too. Get back a couple of lands. Maybe a little Cabal Pit action yet again.
Ah, the pit's still there.
Going to get back the Mishra's Factory. Looks like the Wasteland and the Cabal Pit. So three utility lands are back now.
That's another good one. Mishra's Factory. Flip that over with one of the dredges a couple of turns ago. But now, again, I keep coming back to this, but that Cephalid Colosseum, Mike is going to need to tap it for mana in order to activate Pernicious Deed for 2 here. Going to take another point of damage, go down to 5. I think that's 5 or 6 damage off of that Cephalid Colosseum.
Anderson gains 4 life off Umezawa's Jite. But now the big thing that happened here, Riki, is that that Wasteland from last turn keeps Anderson away from 5 mana to hardcast a Batterskull.
Batterskull.
So, you know, that may have been part of his plan, but the Wasteland off the top from Kletz really did ruin that, and now he has to figure out a new plan here. He's going to play a fetch land from the Brainstorm. He's going to cast a Deathrite Shaman. You see, he's going to leave the Polluted Delta in play to figure out when he wants to sacrifice that. Here's a Dredge from Life Alone. 3 lands are going to go to the graveyard, one of which is a creeping Tar Pit. So now there's the Cabal
Pit immediately dispatches the Deathrite Shaman. And Mike Kletz follows up with a Life from the Loam. He's going to get back the Cabal Pit, Underground Sea, and what was that third
Polluted
one?
Delta.
Polluted Delta.
And so now Todd can establish Batterskull because he didn't get a Wasteland at that turn. So he used Deathrite Shaman as fodder that turn, because Kletz could have just Wastelanded him again and let him keep that Deathrite Shaman, but Deathrite Shaman is actually pretty scary at that point. That's the thing.
Oh yeah, at 5 life, you don't want to let your opponent untap with Deathrite Shaman. But Batterskull. Whew. Does Mike Kletz have anything for Batterskull
Yeah,
now?
that's the question, right?
Well, so he elects to dredge the Life from the Loam again. We see 2 Force of Wills and an Underground Sea go to the graveyard. We know he picked up a Mishra's Factory off of an earlier Life from the Loam casting. He's going to activate the Colosseum.
So he's going to draw 3 and look for some help, and I think he may have found an Abrupt Decay.
Okay, so the Abrupt Decay cannot destroy Batterskull, but it can destroy the Germ Token. It's going to set Todd back a couple of turns. Well, he'll need to reset the Batterskull.
So here comes Wasteland.
And
bang.
Meanwhile, yeah.
And bang.
Continues to attack Todd Anderson's lands, trying to keep him off that critical 5 mana where he can cast the Batterskull again.
Todd starts with a Brainstorm, 2 Dark Confidants, and a Swords to Plowshares.
So now he can open up a different avenue of attack with those Dark Confidants.
But he does not have any black mana right now, and thankfully he has a Polluted Delta in his hand. But he can only play one of these Dark Confidants, and oddly enough, he can actually Wasteland Kletz if he wants to, but I think, again, he kind of wants to keep his mana so that bouncing Batterskull is actually realistic.
Yeah, he wants to get back to the point where he can cast Batterskull for 5.
But there's also this other thing now too, where, you know, if he cuts Kletz's resources, wastelands one of his land, plays a Dark Confidant, then it makes it difficult for Kletz to be able to do multiple things in a turn.
Right.
You know,
let's
like
say
Cabal Pitting and Loaming and multiple things.
Let's say you cast a Dark Confidant here, and he's getting a land now, so it seems like that's what he's going to do. You wasteland like the Bayou. Mike Kletz then does not have enough resources available to cast Life from the Loam and activate Cabal Pit in the same turn. So it looks like that's the path that Todd Anderson is going to choose. He cast the Dark Confidant, and he picked up that wasteland and quickly put it aside.
I'm super interested if he's going to use it, and he's not going to.
What is he waiting on? All right, so Life from the Loam, Dredge, lets him put it in his hand. Doesn't seem like there was a pause here, so.
All right, so the pit takes that down, and it's going to allow a Life from the Loam to be cast as well.
So Todd Anderson not using his wasteland there. I mean, he can still make the same. Well, he can't make the same play because the second Dark Confidant was shuffled away when he cracked the Polluted Delta.
So mystery card coming, pretty good one. Pretty good mystery card by Anderson.
Jeez.
So now Jace the Mind Sculptor shows up for Todd, and he's figuring out how he wants to tap for it.
That's probably a little better than the second Dark Confidant.
A smidge better when you know your opponent has access to Cabal Pit. So, round and around and around we go. What to do with the best Planeswalker of all time off the top?
And we still know that Mike Kletz has a Mishra's Factory in his hand. Oh no, there's one in the graveyard. So does he have one in the graveyard, one in his hand?
Yeah. And now Todd is going to use the Wasteland here too. So now he wants to constrict Kletz's mana a little bit as Kletz ironically draws a Force of Will for the turn.
Just a little bit too late there.
Now he has to use his turn, casting Life from the Loam.
Is it curious that Todd elected to use the Wasteland there rather than waiting for the Mishra's Factory, which could possibly threaten that Jace?
Yeah, a little bit surprising. You see the Loam get back Cabal Pit, Wasteland, and a Bayou. But that is a little bit surprising. But you have to play this. Fun little game here with how to make your way through an active Life from the Loam, because it's pretty difficult to do. So here's a Brainstorm. Hit 1, hit 2, hit 3. 2 Swords, a Stoneforge Mystic, and Karakas are the options. And again, Stoneforge Mystic right now, it's just a 1/2. Batterskull's in play, and Umezawa Shite was destroyed by that Pernicious Deed much earlier in the game.
Well, you're not going to get to search with the Stoneforge Mystic, but I think the mana you save by activating the ability, resetting that Batterskull, is going to be relevant here.
Agreed. You know, Todd might be kicking himself right now too, because, you know, the one thing he could have done is he could have picked up Batterskull and then Brainstormed, and then re-put that back into his deck in case he does draw Stoneforge Mystic. It's like an extra card.
A free card draw.
But here's Swords, take that down. Force of Will says, I don't think so.
Todd, Swords to Plowshares, baiting out that Force of Will so that the coast is clear for Stoneforge Mystic.
But Stoneforge does not have a big impact on this game right now, again, because of the Cabal Pit that's in Kletz's hand. So the fact that this resolves and no search does not really matter at all. And the big thing here for Anderson, too, is that he did not get to shuffle away with the Brainstorm. So this, you know, even though there was a Brainstorm last turn, he got to look at a bunch of cards, set his library how he wants to, doesn't really seem like he accomplished much that turn.
It is amazing how relevant this Cabal Pit has been. And he elects to use Abrupt Decay instead, so that he can make land drops, and one of them is that Mishra's Factory. So with 2 Deathrite Shamans and a Mishra's Factory, Deathrite Shaman did attack Jace the Mind Sculptor, taking it down to 1 loyalty. So this is the most times I've seen Jace activated, and yet Todd Anderson, behind those activations, seems to be on his back foot.
Yep. So now he activates again. He keeps the Dark Confidant and Swords to Plowshares. So now he's going to pass the turn back with Cabal Pit, oddly enough, looming again.
Yeah, Todd Anderson scratching his head. Can't do anything about Cabal Pit.
the thing that this really shows the power of is Life from the Loam and how amazing this card can be.
Sure. We're talking so much about Cabal Pit, but it's Life from the Loam, which has allowed Mike to play that card multiple times.
You see him attacking 2 creatures in the Jace. Todd was hoping that he would only attack with 1. Swords of Plowshares is going to take care of the factory, but Jace has gone bye-bye now. And now Kletz is doing pretty well. Now he's making up some ground, and Anderson is going to concede the game knowing he can't get out of the lock now. So Mike Kletz is going to win game 1 with his Bugwalkers deck over Todd Anderson playing Esper Deathblade. A heck of a gameplay there, knowing exactly what he wanted to accomplish every step of the way. Again, remember what he did with that turn 3 intuition, searching for Life from the Loam, a Wasteland, and a Cabal Pit. He knew exactly what he wanted to accomplish. He knew the game was going to go long because he's the control deck, and that intuition ends up winning him the game many turns down the road.
Many turns, probably like at least a dozen.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay, so I think it's trivia time.
I'm in agreement with you, my friend.
The first question we have is going to be for 3 months of free premium at StarCityGames.com. And if you know the answer to the question, tweet it back to hashtag SCGPremium, which you see down in the middle of the screen there.
Indeed.
And speed is not a concern here. We want to make sure you get the correct answer. From among the correct answers, we will randomly choose a winner.
Yep.
So, question number 1. Cedric, where are
me.
you going to be in 2 weeks?
I'm going to be in Miami, Florida in 2 weeks.
You're going to be in Miami, Florida at the Grand Prix.
Yeah.
To commentate, just like this. But unlike this event where it's 2 commentators, yourself and myself, there are going to be 3 total commentators for the GP. Because a Grand Prix is a long event. There's a lot of magic going on. We want to make sure to rotate people, keep them fresh, get different perspectives. So the question for you is, other than Cedric Phillips,
that's me,
who are the other 2 commentators for Grand Prix Miami in 2 weeks? If you know the answer, hashtag SCG Premium, let us know, and you could win 3 months of premium.
We will announce the winner again after the entire quarterfinals is over. Again, it is about accuracy, not speed. And if you can name, those other 2 people I'll be working with in the booth for Grand Prix Miami, you have the opportunity to win 3 months of premium. So, good first question. I like it. There's a big 3. When you're in Miami, you got to have a big 3.
Oh,
always.
I see what you did there.
Yeah. Now, hopefully, the big 3 tonight from Miami does not win.
Well, do you want to know what's going on, or?
Yeah, don't tell me. Don't tell me.
I'm not going to tell you.
That's what Sports Center's for. Don't tell me. Don't tell me at home either.
So out of the 3 commentators that you consider the big 3, what are you? Which one are you? Oh, okay.
Come on.
Chris Bosch.
Yeah. I'm the Velociraptor.
Okay.
I'm Chris Bosch. Yeah.
Let's talk about these sideboards, Cedric, Chris Bosch, Velociraptor, Phillips.
I'll photobomb you at any time. Todd Anderson, he is going to be on the play of this game. You see the sideboard on the screen. 2 Relic Progenitus, 2 Meddling Mage, 1 Notion Thief, 1 Detention Sphere, 1 Disenchant, 1 Force of Will, 3 Geist Saint Traff, 2 Supreme Verdict, and 2 Thoughtseize. A lot of cards stand out to me here as options. Relic Progenitus is obviously that's the easy one. But I think the big one that's actually going to steal Todd some games here is Geist Saint Traff. And the reason for that is Hexproof. Get that Cabal Pit out of here. Now, I didn't think coming into this tournament this weekend that I was going to talk about how Geist Saint Traff is a trump to Cabal Pit, but here we are talking about exactly that. And I think that Geist Saint Traff is actually one of the cards that Todd is going to be looking for after sideboard to clean a game up, because you take a look at Kletz's main deck, and again, Pernicious Deed ×2 and 3 Liliana Veils is how he's going to be able to take care of that. But Todd can gum things up to make it so that those effects aren't going to get the job done. So I actually like the ability for Geist Saint Traff to not steal a game, but close a game out very, very quickly, because you saw Todd last game having difficulty closing that game out.
Yeah, and you know what I love here? Look at these 2 sideboards. They both have a Singleton Notion Thief. Rapidly, this card is becoming the mascot of Legacy players. Everyone wants to have one just in case. You bring it in, if you can pull it off at the right time in response to a Brainstorm, Jace the Mind Sculptor, Brainstorm activation, even in Ancestral Visions. We thought that was going to happen earlier in the day today. It did not, but everyone wants to craft their own Notion Thief story.
Yeah. Everyone wants to blow each other out with Notion Thief. That's just what everyone wants to do. All thanks to you, Lauren Nolan, 10K champion, ruining Justin Upple's childhood. Now everyone wants to do it. It's the trendy thing to do. It's like fandangoing. Everyone wants to do it now. It's ridiculous.
I have no idea what you just said.
Don't lie. Everyone knows what fandangoing is.
Okay.
You gotta breathe the A's, Riki. You gotta breathe the A's.
I'm still in the dark. All I can think of is that company where you get movie tickets online, right?
See, that's what most people would think, but it's actually it's a professional wrestler. He's a ballroom dancer, and his name is Fandango. You gotta breathe the A's, Riki.
And this is what I get for missing out on wrestling.
That's right.
These days.
I like a good WWE segue.
I do too. I wish I could watch it more often. Okay.
So Kletz is going to take a look at his opener here. Todd is happy with his, and he's going to be on the play this game. See both? All right.
Okay, Todd Anderson starts with Thoughtseize. Let's take a look. Polluted Delta, 2 Polluted Deltas, Bayou, Abrupt Decay. What is that card? That's Brainstorm.
Yeah, it's a promotional Brainstorm, and I think that one's probably the one that's going to bite the dust.
Yeah. That's from one of the dual decks, I think. Maybe the Is It versus Golgari. So Todd Anderson writes down the contents of Mike's hand, and then he says Brainstorm.
Not too surprising. Brainstorm going to bite the dust, especially when Kletz is on a mulligan, too. But Kletz draws a replacement Brainstorm, so had it, as they say, on the streets.
The mean streets of Columbus, Ohio, right here.
All right, Dark Confidants here. That's going to buy out one of those Abrupt Decays, unsurprisingly.
Kletz has to sacrifice his Polluted Delta. Not going to get maximum value out of that Brainstorm plus Fetch Land quite yet. He does have a second Polluted Delta in his hand. So he's going to try to set that up, but in the meantime, gotta Abrupt Decay. Gotta
you
take out that Dark
You can't let Bob draw one extra card ever.
No, it's Zorg.
Oh,
now.
sorry, Zorg.
The
You can't let
fifth element
Zorg draw an
is
extra
love.
card. And here is Geist of St. Trap. Now, this is what I thought. This is definitely what I thought was going to happen. Let's see if Kletz can find a Liliana the Veil right now, because if not, this game ends very, very quickly. A Brainstorm is going to search his deck a little bit deeper, but he needs to find an answer to this right away, because we've seen this before with Geist of St. Trap. No muss, no fuss. Games end fast when this thing shows up.
Yeah, and unlike the standard format, opposing decks do not clutter the ground up with random tutus in this format. The creatures are at a premium. Now Mike puts back 2 cards. And that's a creature, but it's not quite big enough. Deathrite Shaman can step in the way
I'm surprised I didn't make it a 2-2. No, really, I am.
Okay, now Todd Anderson follows up with Jace the Mind Sculptor.
Is that card good?
Yeah, it is. And the other thing that's good is that Todd has a Caracas on the board, so he could even defend that Geist of St. Trap at some point.
He can actually save it if things do get a little bit hairy. Not at this moment, but if he is able to untap next turn, I presume we'll see Anderson keep up that Caracas if he has the opportunity. You're going to see a Brainstorm here with Jace's. We do have a match result for you guys. Andrew Tenjum
okay.
with Rug Delver defeats Ryan Hovis playing Deathblade. 2 games to 0. So he was the 8 seed, was Tenjum. Hovis, was the 1 seed. But being on the play both games did not matter. Tenjum moving on, playing the winner of this match between Anderson and Kletz.
So Rug Delver waiting in the wings now in this part of the bracket. Mike Kletz up 1 game to 0, but down in this one. He's at 12 life, Geist of St. Trapped, and Jace the Mind Sculptor on the other side of the board.
And wow, what a big draw step there for Kletz. He drew
Liliana
the Veil for the turn.
The one turn where Todd Anderson chose to tap out for Jace the Mind Sculptor, leaving down that Caracas shield for his Geist. Deathrite Shaman gets in for 1 point of damage on the Jace the Mind Sculptor. That was a huge draw for Mike. Liliana the Veil. Now, Todd Anderson with a big draw of his own. Thoughtseize.
That's got to go.
Getting rid of the opposing Jace the Mind Sculptor. So now Mike's going to have to do some work here with his Deathrite Shaman to try to kill that Jace.
Kletz is left with an Intuition and an Abrupt Decay in his hand. Now you see Anderson brainstorming here. Force of Will, you're a little bit late to the party. Needed you last turn, is thinking Anderson. But Jace is still brainstorming right now, so Todd is still certainly doing fine, and he's going to have Force of Will for a little bit of protection. Now he just needs to plan around, you know, a Deathrite Shaman activation, providing a little more mana, and a Liliana the Veil activation, making each player discard a card.
Okay, so Todd Anderson casts a Stoneforge Mystic. He's going to search for an equipment, but he put that Force of Will back on top with the Brainstorm, right?
If so, that's a touch surprising to me.
Yeah,
and it looks like he did do that. He's going to play a Deathrite Shaman and pass the turn back. So I'm a little bit surprised not to see Force of Will, but I oftentimes overvalue Force of Will a little bit, I'll be honest. But now you know that Liliana is going to be going up, so you actually are going to have to discard either a Brainstorm or a Batterskull, or he's going to cast Brainstorm in response to Liliana discard. All of this seems a little bit scary to me. If I'm Todd, I don't want to discard either one of those cards.
Yeah, Liliana the Veil takes up. Todd Anderson is going to Brainstorm in response, so he's going to have to discard.
Oh, those cards are pretty good. He drew into a Geist of St. Traft, a Jace the Mind Sculptor, and another Brainstorm. So all those cards are cards I'd never want to discard. As we do have a quick update for you guys again as well. This top eight's going a little bit faster than I thought it was going to. We have Tom Gensman with Blue-White Red Delver taking care of Jesse Liu and the Enter the Infinite Show and Tell Dream Halls deck. So no more Omnitel for us this evening, my friends. The 2 seed is gone, the 7 seed moves on, and Blue-White Red Delver is here to stay for at least one more round and make it into our semifinals tonight.
So both of the Delver decks here moving on.
Making short work of the opposition.
Okay, so catching back up with the action, Mike has cast Intuition, and he gets the very same package he did in Game 1. Life from the Loam, Wasteland, and Cabal Pit.
As we see this Intuition getting resolved here and seeing where things are going to go, another update for you guys right now. We have Bobby Kovacs with his lands deck, about 35 of them in his deck, up a game over Brian Hoke playing Blue, White, Red Stoneblade. That's what we thought was going to happen. The land stack interacting in a way that Stoneblade is not very familiar with or prepared to deal with. So we'll see if he's able to win one more and move on to the semifinals to have a battle against Tom Gensman and his Blue, White, Red Delver deck.
Okay, so Abrupt Decay right there you saw on Todd's Deathrite Shaman, taking that down. Todd has a second copy of Jace the Mind Sculptor in his hand and a Batterskull. He can activate Stoneforge Mystic to drop that Batterskull into play. He's thinking over his options. What is he going to do here? Facing off against a Liliana of the Veil, slowly ticking up. Okay, Todd Anderson chooses to activate Jace to Brainstorm. He sees another Brainstorm, Force of Will, Geist of St. Traft. These are all excellent cards for Todd Anderson, having to decide which one of these is the best in this situation. Very difficult. I think, yeah, Geist of St. Traft has got to be one of them, and he started to tap his mana there, untaps him, needs to leave Caracas up, just in case.
You see him do that, which we thought this was something that was going to happen, and he's going to put in this too with the Batterskull because he just wants to clog up the board so that the Edict effect can't do anything.
Okay, Liliana can only activate the Edict effect one more time here, so even with an Edict and another Abrupt Decay, Geist of St. Traft would be safe. Todd can sacrifice the Stoneforge Mystic and the Germ Token. And now, here we go. Kletz is going to go for some Life of the Loam. Getting back Cabal Pit, Wasteland, and a Mishra's Factory. All very relevant cards. He's already got one Mishra's Factory on the battlefield. Chooses to go with the Cabal Pit. So he still can't get rid of all three creatures. So Todd correctly defending that Geist of St. Traft. Mike Activates Cabal Pit. Get rid of your Stoneforge Mystic. Activate Liliana. Todd sacrifices the Germ token. Here we are.
Yep,
Geist of Saint Strap.
all things that we thought were going to happen.
And activating. Okay.
Oh boy. This is a really good turn by Kletz.
Yeah, he just activated the Deathrite Shaman to make mana so that he could activate Mishra's Factory to turn it into a 2/2 and attack Jace the Mind Sculptor. Todd had to choose whether to block with Geist of Saint Traft. He chose not to. We know he has another Jace the Mind Sculptor in his hand, but instead of playing it, he equips.
He equips and puts him out too, and he's forcing Kletz to draw another Liliana the Veil or Pernicious Deed to get out of this.
Yeah.
Is what it looks like.
I mean, that Geist of Saint Traft wearing a Batter Skull.
Does he have Deed? Oh my gosh.
And he's got enough mana here with the Deathrite Shaman.
But he needs to blow it up. So he made this mistake. He needs to blow it up right away because now Caracas is available.
I was just about to point out that Todd Anderson put down the Caracas shield in order to equip the Batter Skull to Geist. And yeah, absolutely. Mike Kletz, that may have been a critical error here because
Todd sees it.
Taps his Caracas, returns Geist to his hand. The Angel does go away because of the Pernicious Deed, points out that Deathrite Shaman is also going to die, and recasts. Yeah, he's thinking about it, and most likely going to recast that Geist of Saint Traft. There it is. Mike Kletz had an opportunity to take out this Geist of Saint Traft with the Pernicious Deed, but let Todd untap, and that's going to be it. Wow.
Boy, these two games have been awesome so far.
That's a trap. I myself play a lot of Limited. That's a trap you see people get into in Limited. If you have an instant speed removal spell, you kind of want to save it until the last possible moment. You're hoping maybe your opponent will cast an aura or something and you can get a 2-for-1, but sometimes the best thing to do is cast it on your turn at sorcery speed when your opponent's shields are down.
Yeah. So Anderson's going to tie this matchup here between him and Kletz. Deathblade versus Bug Walkers. We're going to a third and final game here. And wow, if this third game is anywhere close to the first two, we're in for a heck of a third one here because that game was insane. The back and forth that we've seen in these games and the way the players have been using their resources has been a pleasure to watch. You can definitely tell here that Kletz is very familiar with his deck. That much is very obvious.
Yes, he is. But that mistake right there, that probably stems more from unfamiliarity with his opponent's deck, the Caracas.
Yep.
Because earlier on we saw Todd shields down. He could not protect his first Geist of Saint Traft. So Mike Kletz may not have even been aware that possibility existed at that point. So we have another update for you. Bobby Kovacs, who had taken Game 1, has now taken Game 2. He's playing the lands deck. He defeats the blue, white, red Stoneblade deck. So, in the semifinals, Bobby Kovacs, playing lands, is going to face off against Tom Gensman, playing blue, white, red Delver. On this side of the bracket, Andrew Tenjum with Rug Delver has already won his match, and he is waiting for the conclusion of Todd Anderson v. Mike Kletz, currently tied up, shuffling up for game number 3. Oh boy. So, Mike Kletz on the play here. Does that favor him for this decisive game, or have the sideboard changes, are they going to affect things? We saw Geist of Saint Traft hugely relevant.
It's really interesting because both players have access to Deathrite Shaman in their deck. Again, Anderson has 4 where Kletz has 3, but by playing a turn 1 Deathrite Shaman on the play, it drastically changes everything because you take the initiative back. So if Kletz has a turn 1 Deathrite Shaman, he could potentially cast a turn 2 Liliana the Veil, and that's going to change everything. Additionally, he can do something as simple as go Wasteland you. After playing a turn 1 Deathrite Shaman, Wasteland your land, cast Life from Loam, get my Wasteland back, get that engine online. So I think that's really about Deathrite Shaman first and foremost. But being on the play, of course, is going to change some things here. But I really think it's the person who has Deathrite Shaman is really going to have an advantage because you just have mana before your opponent does. You get to actually just do more things.
Yeah, the turn 1 accelerator. In the history of Magic, it always seems to come down to that. Birds of Paradise. Llanowar Elves, Noble Hierarch, and now Deathrite Shaman.
Let me tell you one thing. At Pro Tour Avacyn Restored in Barcelona last year, there was an interesting little stat that I can't quote it exactly, but the win percentage of people who played in Avacyn's Pilgrim on turn 1, as that was the only one mana accelerant in that format, versus the win percentage of people who did not, was staggering.
Now this was what, block constructor?
Yes. This was Avacyn's Restored, the full block.
Yeah,
you saw your red-green Naya Bonfire decks. You saw Alexander Hayne win that deck with blue-white Miracles. The number and the percentage of decks when they cast the Eternal Avacyn's Pilgrim, their win percentage was so much higher when they didn't, or if people just didn't have Avacyn's Pilgrim in their deck. It was absolutely staggering, and it just shows you about how good a turn 1 mana accelerant can be. And this is arguably the best one turn 1. This is arguably, excuse me, the best turn 1 mana accelerant of all time, which pains me to say because I hate the card, but I have to be honest. I mean,
and it does
Deathrite Shaman's insane.
And it does 2 other things.
Yeah, the card's completely insane.
What if Birds of Paradise did 2 other things?
Yeah, it holds a sword on occasion. As you see, Mike Kletz does not have a turn 1 Deathrite Shaman. He has just a turn 1 Creeping Tar Pit. And you see Todd is searching out lands right now.
Todd is fetching. That almost surely means Deathrite Shaman could be a Thoughtseize.
Yeah, it could be a discard spell, but the thing is, I don't like discard spells are just mediocre against Kletz's deck, and it is gonna so it's gonna be a Ponder, which is the one of in Todd's deck.
So he's just gonna cast this here, looking to set up his next play. Doesn't look fantastic for the following turns, but he has a Jace the Mind Sculptor lurking in his hand.
So he's going to take a Brainstorm to the grip and pass the turn back. Pernicious Steed, the draw here for Kletz. He's going to play Misty Rainforest and pass the turn back. So we are off to much slower starts this go around.
Neither player with Deathrite Shaman. So now, who is going to gain the advantage here in this portion of the game? No acceleration. Todd also has a Creeping Tar Pit. So that could be interesting as well. Creeping Tar Pit is a notorious Jace the Mind Sculptor killer.
How always eats that thing.
Or
at least makes life difficult for
yeah,
him.
if your opponent has a Creeping Tar Pit available, out of respect to that, you almost have to tick it up. Tick up your Jace and Fate Seal to get it out of range.
Yeah, few things force Jace's hand, but Creeping Tar Pit is one of them. So you see Kletz is going to search, and now he's going to life him and get those fetch lands back. So if you're Anderson, you're pretty happy that that's not a Wasteland or Cabal Pit yet or Cephalid Coliseum. It's just a pretty honest life from the loam. Gets back 2 fetch lands and passes the turn.
But it puts the life from the loam in the graveyard, which is where Mike wants it. He's going to dredge and try to dredge into some more relevant lands here.
So a Brainstorm here from Anderson. He draws a Geist of St. Traft, a Deathrite Shaman, and a Notion Thief.
Interesting.
Gather around the campfire. It could be story time in a minute.
Let me tell you, kids, about how I met your mother. She stole all of my card draws with Notion Thief.
So we're going to see a dredge of 3 cards. Pernicious Deed, Verdant Catacombs among them. So Kletz, we know, has plenty of mana now. Gonna play a Bayou. Going to slam down a Jace the Mind Sculptor. And Anderson, I have a feeling, yeah, he's going to force a will that. But what's he going to remove? Because you see him pull the Notion Thief forward, but you know he doesn't want to remove Notion Thief for force a will. He doesn't want to.
Sometimes you have to forget your emotional response and go with the right play, and Todd's going to take a moment to think about this. And I want to take a moment to point out that Jace the Mind Sculptor from Mike Kletz is signed. I have to assume it's signed by the artist, Jason Chan. That's an artist who does not make very many appearances, so very impressive. I might talk to him later about that. Okay, so Todd Anderson chose the Snapcaster Mage, Tiago Chan's invitational card, to pitch to Force of Will. So he wants to tell that story to you, your kids, his kids, your grandkids. Let me tell you about that time I Notion Thiefed.
Alright, taking a draw. Draws Jace.
Meanwhile, he's just going to get to cast his own Jace the Mind Sculptor here, right?
I mean, he has Jace Superiority right now. But, how does he want to use this? Because, as you mentioned, that creeping tar pit on Kletz's side, which you guys can't see because the Bayou's covering right now, it forces Anderson to actually tick up on his first go around.
Well, does he have 2 Jaces? Yeah, he's got 2 Jace the Mind Sculptor, so why not brainstorm with the first one, force Mike to time walk, use the creeping tar pit to take out the Jace, and then maybe your brainstorm is going to set up some better draws for the future.
All right.
And you still you're basically going to be in the same position. You can cast a Jace. Mike is tapped out.
All right, there's Jace.
Let's see what happens.
Yep,
Puts it on
he's
5.
He's
Okay.
going up.
So he's going to force Mike to try to use that creeping tar pit to bring Jace down just a notch.
I like
down
this
to
play
2.
a lot. Fate sealing himself. Get some more information his way. You see a Crows and Grip, drawn there for Kletz. But now, the thing is that, it almost forces him to tar pit this down to 2, which is still essentially a time walk. So this is great for Anderson. And now he's going to activate here with the Deathrite Shaman just to get rid of a land, not even do anything with the mana, but make the Life in the Loam that Kletz has in his hand
That much worse.
Yep,
yeah.
just make it worse.
Eventually, he's hoping he can catch that Life from the Loam in the graveyard at some point with the Deathrite Shaman.
So now Jace is going back up again.
Fate Seal, targeting myself again. Puts it on the bottom, so he's improving his future draws through Fate Sealing. Don't see that too often, Fate Sealing yourself.
Now, Geist-Seeing Trapped, ready to come to the party. It's got some protection against Liliana the Veil in the form of Deathrite Shaman as far as sacrifice fodder is concerned. And he also has a Relic of Progenitus in his hand. And you see Todd considering playing Relic of Progenitus, but does he want to expose that yet? That Trump. Does he want to show that yet to Kletz? And he does not want to.
And also the Pernicious, here we go, the Pernicious Deed.
So Deed for 3. Deathrite Shaman activation looks like it's going to be for a little life loss action. But again, this is maybe a trade that Todd is okay with. Maybe Todd is just thinking, I just have to keep trading resources. That's just what I have to do. And now I can safely brainstorm with this at 4. Creeping Tar Pit can't kill it, so let's get a little bit deeper into my deck.
Yeah, Mike Kletz has used up a lot of time and resources clearing the field of creatures, but Jace, the Mind Sculptor, still stands alone here, the only non-land permanent on the battlefield. Todd Anderson has just brainstormed with Jace. He surveys Mike Kletz's lands. There's a Creeping Tar Pit, Mishra's Factory, Bayou, 2 Bayous, and 2 Underground Seas. Deathrite Shaman.
It's not the time yet, but one thing he does have up right now, Riki, is he does have up Notion Thief at the ready.
Oh boy. Well, how many Mike Kletz, what does he have here that he could Notion Thief?
He's got 4 Jaces, and then outside of that, there's never going to be a huge Notion Thief blowout, I don't think. You see, he's going to activate his Manlands here and try to get into this Jace the Mind Sculptor and get this thing dead. Maybe we'll see Creeping Tar Pit try to trade it with the Factory, perhaps? Todd really, really, really wants to get him with Notion Thief. You can really tell, where it doesn't seem like it's really that great against this deck, but he just really wants to get him with it, which is understandable because I would really want to get him with. I would really want to get someone on camera with it if I was in that position. But as you said, is it the best play?
Right. I mean, you love NBA basketball. Sometimes you just gotta shoot the layup rather than going for the tomahawk slam.
All right, here it comes. Here's Notion Thief. It's entering play. He is going to block the Factory. Jace is going to go down to 1. I'm sure that's not how Todd wanted to use the old boy, but he did a pretty good job, Notion Thief. Kept my Jace the Mind Sculptor alive.
Yeah, that is the correct play there. Not the flashiest, but like I said, just shoot the layup, score the points.
2 and 3. Dark Confidant, Vendilion Click, and Polluted Delta are the cards that Todd is looking at now. Those are the fresh ones for the Brainstorm, so going to get a little further. And typically what you see is when Jace is able to brainstorm this many times, it is pretty difficult to come back from this. Thoughtseize is going to clear the path here for Anderson.
We see a Life from the Loam, Spell Snare, Croson Grip, Abrupt Decay, and Polluted Delta. not the greatest cards in this position right now. So what's going to happen here is that Mike Kletz is going to finally be able to take out that Jace the Mind Sculptor with his Creeping Tar Pit on his turn. Todd Anderson has to take that into consideration when he decides what to take with this Thought Seize. Looks at his own hand. How is he going to set this up? A Grimace.
Yeah, decisions. It's all about planning now. I mean, he's certainly ahead on the board, but you don't want to make this, you don't want to make an error where you're ahead on the board and you get a little overconfident and don't set things up. You have got to brainstorm with Jason multiple times, but don't get too ahead of yourself. This is going to activate Deathrite Shaman, remove a Mishra's Factory, cast Vendilion Click, and get a little look-ski-poo.
So he's going to be able to take a second card here, and it's certainly going to be... Oh!
Yeah, snare to the bottom. Get Bob into play. I like it. As long as he doesn't draw another snare, but it doesn't look like Kletz has. So the only real big blowout that can happen here for Todd is if a Pernicious Deed shows up, and even if it does, he still has that Jace. And it looks like we're going to finally take down the Jace with the Creeping Tar Pit. But again, I'm pretty sure Todd has another Jace the Mind Sculptor in his hand.
It's either in his hand or he's been floating it on the top of his library with those Brainstorms. So all that time, all those resources to take out Jace the Mind Sculptor for Mike, only to see another one come down next turn, where Todd has an overwhelming force on the field here. Vendilion Click, Dark Confidant, Deathrite Shaman.
The thing that's really impressive here is Todd has been manipulating Kletz, and to basically, he's forcing Kletz into plays on his turn. He's forcing Kletz to activating Tar Pit. Like Todd knew that his Jace was going to die, but that's going to be Kletz's entire turn. And Jace comes off the top here for off the Dark Confidant, so he's going to take 4. He looks like he misorganized his cards there. Putting back the Brainstorm, because then he drew a Polluted Delta, so he took 4 necessary points of damage. Hopefully for Todd that doesn't come back to bite him. We'll find out here, as now he's able to take care of the life from the loam with the Deathrite Shaman.
So now Mike Kletz needs to find another Pernicious Deed to clear the battlefield of these creatures. Todd Anderson calculating his mana.
What to search for with that Polluted Delta? Gonna go get a Bayou. Make it so things are easy for the old Deathrite Shaman here. And now the Mind Sculptor is back. And it's gonna go on up.
Gonna Fate Seal Mike this time.
This time he's gonna take a look at Mike, and the reason for that is because he can't dredge past that. He can't dredge past a card, so Todd puts his best card on the bottom and says, Mike, feel free, take a draw step, and he draws an Underground Sea, an irrelevant one.
And it's times like this, I wish we had a camera under the table that could see what that bottom card was that just got put down there. Todd Anderson didn't like it. He put it straight to the bottom. Could it have been the Pernicious Deed that could have dug Mike Kletz back into this game? Oh,
Dark Confidant reveals a Geist Saint Trap. Anderson moves down to 6. His life total is getting a little bit low, but Deathrite Shaman is here to kind of make things a little more comfortable. You see a Brainstorm here from the Jace.
Right, so Todd Anderson can attack for 5 and Deathrite 2 more life. Mike Kletz is effectively at 1 life here. Here we go. Attack. What are you gonna do? Activate Creeping Tar Pit.
Duty. Wow.
Ouch. Having to trade Creeping Tar Pit for Dark Confidant on the ground. Vendilion Click gets through in the skies for 3 damage. Mike Kletz goes down to 5. He's effectively dead next turn to the Click and Deathrite Shaman on the board. Well, Mishra's Factory not gonna do it right here.
So Deathrite activation, gonna knock Kletz down to 3,
and
he is gonna concede the game. So Todd Anderson is gonna move on to the semifinals with Deathblade yet again. Mike Kletz puts up one heck of a fight, but is not able to defeat our Open Series top 8 leader.